Welcome everyone. We are live with another episode of Level Up Law, where every Tuesday at noon, South Carolina Legal Services levels up your legal knowledge about an area of law that we practice in. I'm Senior Staff Attorney Susan Ingalls here with our producer Kenneth Elliott, and today we are talking about some access to justice issues, which is often a topic here on Level Up Law, but specifically we're talking about broadband access in South Carolina. For us, it's important that we reach clients in rural areas, and also clients need to reach the organizations and government agencies and so forth that serve them. So we are lucky today to have the two gentlemen you are viewing live right now, Jim Stritzinger, who is Director of South Carolina Broadband Office at the Office of Regulatory Staff here in South Carolina, and Mike Shealy, who is with the South Carolina Department of Administration. He is the Special Projects Manager, Digital Equity for the state of South Carolina. So we are so excited to have y'all here. Before we get started, I do want to note for our viewers that they can scan that QR code on the screen if you haven't done so already, and sign up for our newsletter here at South Carolina Legal Services. We'll give you a couple more seconds for that. Now I'm going to give you one more QR code before these gentlemen get started, so that you, our audience and viewers, whether it's live or on the replay, that you can suggest a topic for an episode of Level Up Law. There are some great information, resources out there for what we do here at Legal Services, and for ways that what we do can be supported by other organizations, and today is a perfect example of that. And before we get started, I do want to remind everyone that this is not legal advice in any way. It's just general information for the public, but it is super important information, so be sure and listen closely. If you do need the help of a lawyer for any reason, you can call our intake line here at South Carolina Legal Services, or you can apply online. So for those of you who are having trouble with broadband or don't have access, we do have the telephone way of doing things still, so that's always helpful. And all the details on that kind of information is going to be provided for you at the end of today's presentation, because all of our episodes are posted by our producer Kenneth Elliott to the Level Up Law playlist on our YouTube channel, so you can check that out. And just one more reminder for our audience, Mike and Jim can answer general questions if there is time at the conclusion of today's presentation, but definitely feel free to put questions in the question box throughout, because it may bear on what they're talking about at any given time. And also just be sure to check out our social media, like, subscribe, and get all that up-to-date information that we provide here on Level Up Law, and all our other resources as well. All of that will be on that last slide, and we really appreciate Jim and Mike being here with us. I'm going to change to your screen. There.
Got it. So as soon as you stop sharing, Susan, I will try to introduce everybody to a couple of websites.
Trying to stop showing my screen.
There we go. I think we got it. Whoops. Thought I did. Hang on a second here. Is it going yet? Nope. Give it a second. Can you see my screen now?
Not quite yet.
This one? South Carolina? We got it, Mike?
There we go.
Got it. Yep.
Okay, great. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's the afternoon now, so I want to say hi. Again, my name is Jim Stritzinger, and I'm the director of the South Carolina Broadband Office And my home is the state agency called the South Carolina Office of Regulatory Staff. And what I want to introduce you today is, really from the infrastructure side of the equation. We talk in the internet world, we talk about physical infrastructure, the ability to connect your home or your office to the internet. And then we also talk about all the skills stuff. So my good friend Mike, you'll hear from in a few minutes, is Mike's going to tell you about that. So, Governor Rick Master asked 2 state agencies to share duty on this mission to bring broadband. And I think you'd probably be hiding under a rock if you haven't heard about all the broadband investments that are being made right now across the United States. It might be interesting to know that we are very much at a historical time. The United States is undergoing a massive investment in infrastructure. And the last time something like this really happened was actually on May 20th, 1936. Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed what's known as the Rural Electrification Act, and that brought electric power to rural areas and made way for the electric co-ops to come into existence way back in 1936. And in 1947, the Rural Electrification Act was extended to include rural telephone companies. And if you think about it, it's pretty interesting. We needed electricity, of course, because telephones require electricity. But something you might not think about is we needed electricity to have fresh water in rural America because, to bring fresh water to farms and families across the United States, we had to have electric pumps. So it's really interesting to think about that time and how profound it was for the United States, and also understanding the importance of getting that infrastructure right, because it acted as the foundation for a lot of wonderful things. And, I know Mike and I have talked about this at length, that, many, many times, we just go back and forth on the expense. There are people that say, hey, we don't really need to spend all that money on broadband, but can anybody imagine the United States if we hadn't made the investment in rural electricity way back in 1936? At least from my perspective, I can't imagine the United States had we not done that. If we still had farms and families in our rural areas trying to find electricity, I shudder to think, our food production and everything else, how far that would be. So I really think, I like to take on this as a personal obligation. I think about our grandmothers and grandfathers that really got it done for the United States. They made electricity happen. Today, it's our generation's turn to take this on, and I really internalize that and think about it every day. So first thing I want to talk about is introduce you to 3 words that we use in the broadband context, and we talk about access, adoption, and use. And when I use the word access, I'm personally referring to physical infrastructure coming to your house. When I use the word access, think about hard hats, think about guys and gals climbing telephone poles and installing fiber. It's an infrastructure discussion. And then when we use the words adoption, we're talking about the word affordability. And then when we use the word use, we're talking about all of the cool things you can do on the internet. And that's everything from travel and tourism, that's research, that's economic development. Of course, that's K-12 education, higher ed education, telehealth. It's all the cool stuff you can do on the internet. And not to mention just general quality of life, how nice it is to be able to stream a YouTube video or something like that with your family. So we're at a really important time. We're at a pivotal time for the state of South Carolina, and we have a lot of resources. So in the broadband office, my team's job is really to make investments. Think of us as a big investor, private equity investment, for those of you that might be familiar with that world, making investments in companies. We make investments in internet service providers. So On May 13th of 2022, excuse me, May 13th, 2022, the governor and the General Assembly, they signed Act 244, which allocated $400 million to the broadband office. And my team's job is to allocate those resources to eligible internet service providers, and the ISPs themselves, that's the lingo for internet service provider, they're the ones that actually connect your house to the internet. So one of the important things for us to do, and something I wanted to introduce everybody to, is what we call South Carolina Digital Drive. And this is where we do all of our mapping. So if you're gonna spend a lot of money and build a lot of infrastructure, you have to know precisely where to invest it. So I'm going to introduce you to this website and just give you some idea for how to investigate your own stuff. So one of the first things you can do is just right on the home page, you can take a look at the annual report for the broadband office. This is something you can download as a PDF. You can see what we did. You can see this map is kind of interesting because it shows you the year-over-year progression in the state. And you go down, you can actually test the internet in your house and see how fast it goes. We also have a set of maps out here, and I want to introduce you a little bit to the statewide maps so you can see how our infrastructure is doing. And I'm going to start with really this map we call the best available technology map, and I'm going to show you how it works. So when you go to best available technology, you can, let me just click statewide, and you go down to best available technology map, and I'll pop it up on the screen so you can kind of see. You'll notice, one of the things you'll notice right off the bat is all of these maps are downloadable, and that's very intentional, so you can pull it down in the form of a PowerPoint slide. And that's the whole intent. We want you to grab this data and run with it. So this map is dated September 30, 2022. That's our most recent map set that we've done in the broadband office. And what I want to show you on this map, which is kind of interesting, is it shows you where we have different types of technology in the state. So one of the things we pay careful attention to is areas of the state that have fiber and high-speed cable service available. So if you look at the black areas, these are places where we have fiber. That's the best in class technology for broadband. And you can see all the fiber. And some places that might surprise you is over here in Abbeville County. And you'll notice that Abbeville County has 100% fiber to the home right now. They actually started in calendar year 2008 and have been building out that whole community. Of course, they were the envy of the state when COVID hit, because they had great capacity. Colleton County, actually very well connected in the Midlands. We've got Lexington, very well connected. Of course, Columbia has a lot of fiber. And then you look up in the Greenville area, we have really, really great service on high-speed cable. So from our perspective in the broadband office, pretty much any home that is connected to fiber or high-speed cable is really in pretty good shape. So what we try to do is we try to find the folks that aren't so lucky. And I'll begin to draw your attention to that. When you see these pink areas on the map, these are the places where there is no internet service available at all. And you know, those of myself and others that are very lucky, we don't often think about communities that have nothing, but these pink areas legitimately, there's no available internet service provider, so we're trying to fix that really quickly. So that's how the best available technology map works. You look for the black and the blue, and those areas are in great shape. These golden colored areas are really kind of the old school technology, digital subscriber lines. And if you may remember, when your house switched over from having that dial-up modem where it went and it talked back and forth to get a connection to the internet, the moment we switched over and we had a digital subscriber line was the time that we could talk on the telephone and send an email at the same time. And I remember how great that was. But for me, that was back in the year 2000. So these areas, these gold areas in the state, are still places where that's the best they've got, is really that digital subscriber line from 20 years ago. So we are very aggressively trying to rebuild those parts of the state and find internet service providers that can go into those regions and fix those communities up. So that's how you read the best available technology map. I'm going to show you how to read what we call the planning map. This is another really, really important map. And this map is fun because it begins to translate to speed, and it also shows you where we are making investments in the state. So at the federal government will not allow me to be clear, we're making investments using federal dollars. And the federal rules tell me or instruct our office that we can't make investments anywhere where there's already service. So we have to very clearly document the green areas are places in the state which are already served. And so I'm required to look for places that are not reliably served. And so then I look for what we call the freckles on the map. So think of it this way, if I were to train you very quickly, green is good, everything green on the map is served. Everything white on the map, these white areas, some, in downtown Columbia, we've got Congaree National Park and some places like that, rural farmland where nobody lives. You all don't want a state agency making investments there, so we stay away from those areas. But now my team, what we do is we look very carefully for the freckles. And the freckles on this map show you where there's a lot of homes, like this area up in Pickens County. You can see that freckle on the map. I think you can see my cursor where it's moving. These areas where the freckles, they show you where there's a lot of homes and where the internet service is not great. So we're looking very carefully at the freckles. The other thing I want you all to pay attention to is the places that have these colors. So yellow, these are the places where we've recently made investments in Oconee County. You can see the big yellow area. We're making investments all over the state. Up in Marlborough County, you can see the yellow. In Florence and Dillon, you see this blue swath down through Williamsburg. These are federal investments that are being made. And a lot of people don't know this, but the South Carolina Broadband Office, our investments are colored in yellow. But simultaneous with us, there are two other federal agencies that are also making investments in South Carolina. The Federal Communications Commission is investing in a program through a program called the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund. That's a lot of this area in Dillon, Marion, and Williamsburg counties, and also over in Allendale County. This is all federal dollars. And then the yellow areas are American Rescue Plan investments. And you'll also notice there are some private investments being made. These aqua-colored areas up in just in Greenville County, there's some private companies using their own money to invest. So we're trying to pay attention to all of those investments and make sure that, it's a busy dance floor, and we want to make sure that nobody's stepping on each other's toes, because that's a waste of money. So that's why the mapping is so important, is to make sure we're clear at a very detailed level what's going on. And then one final, yes, sure.
Susie, and I'm curious about the map. Is it interactive in any way? Like, and you may be getting ready to get to this, but can people go and figure out what's going on in their own area where they live?
Absolutely can. And I tell you what, that's a great segue, but let me pause that question for 1 second. I want to show you one more thing. And this is the statistics slide, because I know everybody wants numbers. So let me give everybody the numbers of where we are and help you read this particular slide. So, Susan, on the top of this screen, the black area of the screen tells us where we currently are. The green area of the screen tells us where we have made investments and kind of the delta change that will occur. And the future is where we expect to land. You'll notice that December 31, 2024. So after all of the construction completes, keep in mind, whenever we make an investment in broadband in an internet service provider, it can take as much as 2 years to get that construction complete. So the investment happens, construction, and then the numbers go down in terms of unserved homes. So here, from a statistics perspective, as of September 30, we had 137,000 roughly homes in South Carolina that were lacking internet service. And based on the investments, we expect that 63,000 of those homes will be connected soon. And so we're able to project our number comes down to 73,000 homes at the end of 2 years. So Susan, let me ask, is that making sense?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
And
I
then,
love seeing the projections like that.
yeah, and also on the population perspective, we have roughly 275,000 citizens that are lacking internet. And when we make the investments, and then now the remaining population is about 150,000 residents. So it's helpful to have both the housing count and the population so you can see the impact. And also this middle column, we're able to project, we have a wonderful relationship, and I think Mike Shealy will comment on this too. We have a wonderful and amazing collaboration of state agencies working together. This is just one example, but the South Carolina Department of Education shares with us all of the street addresses of every single public K-12 student. So we are very carefully documenting, you can see this, we were able to estimate that approximately 35,000 public school students are lacking internet in their house right now. But based on the investments we've just made, we're able to project that we're bringing that number down to less than 20,000 students statewide. So we still have a big issue, don't get me wrong. We still know we've got work to do, but it is really helpful to see the projections and where we're going to land. So, so Susan, let me get back to your question.
Well, let me just say that's so crucial,
Yes.
the student access. And so I love seeing that project. And you're right, there'll be more to do, but it's so great to know that y'all are attacking that. I love it.
Yep, and also our low-income homes. You know, the U.S. Housing and Urban Development tracks what they call qualified. They're qualified areas. If you're familiar with the notion of a Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG, the South Carolina Department of Commerce, working through the COGS, they allocate CDBG grants all the time. Community Development Block Grants are only able to be utilized in very low income, high need areas around the state. They're distressed areas. So we track all of the homes in there. So you can see that we had roughly 18,000 homes that were in regions of high distressed areas. So we're also tracking those, and you can see we're closing the gap in a big way to bring that number down to less than, to right around 9,000 homes. So we're moving really quickly in the right directions, and it's an exciting time in South Carolina. So I hope that's a helpful slide. Again, you can pull these slides down. You right mouse click on them and just say save image as, and you can save that PowerPoint slide and build your own deck. And so Susan, I'm going to go back to your question, and I'm going to show you how to do exactly what you were asking me. So you can tell that there's an interactive website, and when you go to the home page, you can go down to these interactive applications. So this is the county dashboard viewer, and you can also do a internet service provider lookup at your house. So one of the things I'm going to do, it's going to pop up in a second. We click OK on this, and I can actually type in a street address. So I can type in 123 Main Street in Ware Shoals, South Carolina, and it zooms in right away, and you can go and you can see that dot. You can zoom in on it, and a resident can click on that dot, and you can see the providers that we think are at your house. So this address 123 Main Street, you can see that Vive Broadband serves that house. and they offer service of 100 megabits per second down, 5 megabits per second up. So this house is a lucky one. But Susan, is that helpful?
That's great. I love that people will be able to do that. Yeah.
That's interactive, and you can look up. And then, of course, if a resident drills into their home, if they zoom into their home and they don't think the data is accurate, that's where we come in, and the residents, anybody, any of your stakeholders that work together with you can let us know that they think that information's wrong, and we will try to get that corrected. But there are a lot of interactive tools. I showed you the one how to look up your internet service provider, but here you can actually zoom in on, we call this the county dashboard viewer, and this is pretty fun as well. You can really grab any county, and you can type in the county name, and it will get you the results. So I can type in up here, well, let's go to Sumter County, and you can see it drills in, and you can zoom in. Roads become visible as you zoom in, and again, you see green is good. So if you're seeing green on top of your house, you should be able to get service there, and if you don't, you can check that out. But it's pretty neat how this works, and I'm hoping that's really useful for for your viewers, and everybody can get some good experience and learn some new things. So we highly encourage you to play around with, it's known as SC Digital Drive. This is the home of all of the broadband maps for the state of South Carolina. And it's scdigitaldrive.org. There's tons of information. We update the maps for the state of South Carolina roughly every 6 months. And we love it when you use it. Shoot us an email if you have any questions. And I think it'll be really, really fun. Also, go out here and click on this Go button. It'll tell you how fast the internet is at your house. I can't do it right now because it's blocked in our state agency from executing. But any of you that are paying attention, you can run this quick speed test, and you can see how fast your home is in the format of a download speed and an upload speed. So that's on the infrastructure side. So let me switch gears, and I want to talk to you about what's next. And we know, certainly I know, I've been doing this a long time. Connecting your home to the internet is only the first part of the equation. We want to lift up every community so that their skills become improved. And I'm totally aware of how frustrating it is. There are whole communities out there that have never streamed a Netflix video in their living room. There are folks that can't utilize all the fun music streaming services just because they don't have high-speed internet in their house. So we know that. So Mike Shealy and I, we were super grateful. The Governor McMaster came together with Congressman Clyburn, and we launched really in February. We launched GetConnectedSC, and this is our statewide initiative to get everybody in the game and really make it affordable and all those things. And Mike, why don't I bring you in? I'll do the driving for you, but why don't you tell everybody about this website and what we're doing with it?
Hey, can I just ask one quick question before we make the switch to Mike? Because we do have a couple of questions here in the question box. And this may be something one or the other of you can address, but it does say Comporium is the only internet service available to the area I live in Rock Hill. Will we also be eligible for broadband service in this area? Please.
Well, that's a great question, and I would say, first of all, take a look at your house. Type in your home address into the tool I just showed you, and see which internet service providers are popping up. First of all, if you do have service at your house, consider yourself lucky. But I will say we are using federal dollars. We are not allowed to use federal dollars to build into an area that already has service. The money that we're investing right now is to lift up parts of the state that quite honestly have nothing. So it's very location specific right now. So depending on where you live, you can investigate your home and see if you have service at your house, see who the other options might be. But if your home is already served by a provider, there we will not be able to make an investment at your specific house. So I'm sorry about that, but that's our reality, and we've got a lot of work to do. As you could see from the statistics, we still have, you know, about 140,000 homes. It's really expensive. It is useful to note, a lot of people don't know this, it costs about $80,000 per mile right now to install fiber internet underground, and it costs about $40,000 to $50,000 to also install a mile on telephone poles. So those are two primary ways of distributing internet. Aerial, of course, is cheaper and faster because you can mount to a telephone pole and move on. But underground is a little more resilient. So when we get into storms and things like that, especially in the low country, it's nice to have the more resilient infrastructure installed. But it also takes slower to put it in, or slower to put it in. So did I ask the question okay? Or answer the question? Great. Thank you for that question. And Mike, you want to tell everybody about GetConnectedSC?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. One of the requirements that we have, the two teams that are working on this, is to do outreach. And there are really three ways that we're executing it right now. What you'll see on your screen is the website GetConnectedSC.org. If you go to GetConnectedSC, it will pop on your computer screen, and we would ask you to go and take a survey. We hope to get as much response as we can from that survey, and that will be part of the planning application that we submit back to the federal government as we complete our planning stage. In addition to that, we're hitting the road. We happen to hit it lucky today to be in our offices, Jim, but
Yeah.
we've been out speaking to a lot of different groups of people. One of my connections over the length of my career has been to work with the Regional Council of Government. So if you're involved with the Regional Council of Government, you're going to see this gray beard, and it won't be too long. And I've actually spoken to several groups, and it's to notify people about what's going on. But probably one of the most important things is we're doing outreach at the grassroots level, holding individual meetings, listening sessions with people, asking what this technology means to them. What do they hope to have in the future? It's real important that we get as much participation as possible. You'll see up on the screen some of these different places where we're meeting, and we really ask for people's participation. All of this will be combined into the applications for both the program that Jim is administering and that I'm administering is fully coordinated, and that will be presented then to the federal government. That will then be the transition to a period of grants. From Jim's standpoint, that is going to be to deploy additional technology that we hope over the next several years will be able to reach virtually every community in the state. But you have to remember, even if you have the technology very near your house, if you can't afford a subscription, if you don't have a device, and you don't really know how to use it, it doesn't make much difference. And that's where the digital equity program comes in. That is part of our outreach.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Real quickly, not to interrupt, but we might want to draw everybody's attention to tomorrow. We'll be in Oconee County, right in Westminster, South Carolina, at 10:30 a.m. And anybody who's watching that is in Oconee County can sign up and use the RSVP link to sign up for the event. If you live in York, yep. So York County is the RSVP for on March 30th. April 5th is in Union. April 6th is in Bluffton in the Low Country, and April 13th is McClellanville. And overall, and Mike, as you know, there's 26 communities in total that we'll be visiting. And so this list will be changing. So just using this tool, I'm just on the events, on the events tab of the GetConnectedSC website. And hopefully that's useful for you.
Yeah, and so what we're doing, it's a novel idea. We're actually listening to the people we're trying to serve, and we're getting out and going through that listening exercise to then be able to transition eventually to the grant phase. So it's good stuff for the state of South Carolina. I think one of the things that your viewers would be interested in is that concept of the digital divide, and it's very real. We have in South Carolina what I would refer to almost as a duality of houses or households that are unserved. You've got those pockets that Jim mentioned where there is no service or very, very slow service. Those predominantly are going to be in your rural areas of the state of South Carolina. But in addition to that, in some of our more populated counties, you think about it, Greenville County has a very dense population in certain areas, but in other areas, it's a bit rural. And you also have people that live in more densely populated areas in cities, but because of the impediments of either the price of a subscription or devices or the inability to know how to use this technology, they're not signed up. But what occurs from a societal standpoint whenever this technology becomes so prevalent, it's the platform upon which all of us communicate. And we're to that point right now. If you're going to fill out a job application, the odds are you're going to have to do it electronically. If you want to access information on your medical records, you can sign up for an application and receive telehealth and also get your information on your last blood test. If you're going to receive educational services, if there's a pandemic and you're a kid, that's how you're going to get that service. And in many cases, for both technical colleges and for universities, they're going online for the delivery of educational services. But for those people who don't have this technology, they're pretty much out of the game. And that's the mission that comes from the Federal Infrastructure Act, is for Jim and me to focus on those specific areas, target them, and get the deployment and the usage in these areas all across the state. So very, very good things are happening. Before I came to admin last fall, I worked in budgeting for state government. I have never seen anything like the investments that are coming from the federal government in my 40-year career. So this is a wonderful opportunity for the state of South Carolina, and it's our job to make sure that we take full advantage of it.
Hey, Mike, let's show everybody some on the resources tab how they can qualify for financial assistance for the Affordable Connectivity Program. So obviously, one of the biggest barriers for a resident of South Carolina to bring internet in their home is paying for it. The monthly cost of internet, especially for a low-income household, somebody who's just trying to get by, it's hard. So the federal government has a program called the Affordable Connectivity Program. Excuse me, screen popped up a little bit. The Affordable Connectivity Program, and what it does is it provides a $30 per month subsidy to a qualifying low-income household. And a lot of our internet service providers, believe it or not, are offering $30 a month internet packages. So if you qualify and you sign up, you might be able to get internet free in your house, which of course is the goal, to try to make it as low cost and zero cost as possible. But Sally and Susan, we definitely want to make sure that all of your viewers have knowledge about the Affordable Connectivity Program. And you can click on this link and it walks you thoughtfully through trying to apply. But any resident that has a Pell Grant, SNAP and TANF benefits recipients are likely to be eligible for the Affordable Connectivity Program. We want to make sure everybody knows how to do that.
That's so great that you pointed that out, because we actually did have a question about that already. So good information.
Yep. So there's the button, and that's on the resources tab of the GetConnectedSC website. So great. So Mike, I'm sorry for interrupting you.
Oh, no, I'm good. Thank you, Jim. The most important thing that we're doing right now is we want to hear from the public. So the more people that we can get out to come to these grassroots listening sessions, I think it's going to give us a very robust planning application to send back to the federal government. And what that means for the state of South Carolina, honestly, is more money to make these types of investments. That's where the rubber meets the road. So we're going to do our job, and we're going to have a wonderful planning document. And then we're going to talk to our federal partners and say, we're ready to go. There's another thing that everybody, I think, needs to know about this. Because of the investments made by the General Assembly that really go back about 3 years, Jim, we have a wonderful broadband office that is far ahead of many other states. The digital technology that Jim showed you earlier during the broadcast, we have many surrounding states in the Southeast that are not nearly as far along. So we're ahead of the game, and we're ready to go and make investments as soon as possible. So we'll be out there in your neighborhoods, and we'll be listening to what you have to say and ready to move.
Yep. And, you know, we should give special thanks to our internet service providers because, you know, again, my office doesn't build a single mile of fiber. We don't put anything in. We're dependent upon the state's ISPs. There are about 30 internet service providers in South Carolina that are actively connecting homes. You saw our investment map. It's all over the state. It's not this county or that county. There's no specific amount of money going to any county. It'll be useful for everybody to understand the way that we allocate dollars is through a competitive grant process. We're required to implement a competitive grant process. So we publish an eligibility map, and then the providers bid on those project areas. So they're really bidding on, if you remember those areas with the freckles, we put those areas with freckles out for bid. That's basically the job of the broadband office. And it's so far it's been working really well, and they've been very aggressive. But Sally and Susan, we'd love to take questions, and we've got about 15 minutes left. And, you know, I think we'd invite them from any which way.
I have a question. So I noticed when y'all were showing the information that you had like a target, like I think one of the number was like 25 Mbps or whatever. So can you just talk about the importance of needing to have the high speed access and not just general access, and kind of how you determined what that goal zone is for the type of high speed internet that we're looking to provide?
That's a fantastic question, and I should have covered it earlier. So thanks for getting me, Sally. But yeah, the federal government, specifically the Federal Communications Commission, defines internet service for the family home. And an unserved home, by definition, is a home that has less than 25 megabits per second download speed, 3 megabits per second upload speed. I know that's kind of nerdy. That's why I try not to talk in gobbledygook all the time. But when you're talking about speeds, I think everybody's familiar with, I call it the spinning circle of death. You know, when you try to spin a YouTube video and the circle goes round and around and around, that's when you don't have 25.3, is when you have that spinning circle of death. I think really a better measure of internet service in a family home now is really 100 megabits per second down, 20 megabits per second up. That's what the federal government considers an underserved home. And what we're doing with our dollars is trying to lift, by federal rules, we have to get everybody to 25.3 at a minimum. And then once we have all of that done, then we're allowed to look for those that have kind of that in-between speed. You got something, but it's not great. And then we're allowed to invest in those homes to get everybody over 100/20. Candidly, that's our goal for all of these federal investments, is to get every home in South Carolina lifted above 100 megabits per second down, 20 megabits per second up. Now, you will love knowing this. The new projects that we're funding, nobody is building brand new stuff at the old speeds. Everything new that is getting constructed, in fact, just about everything is getting built with fiber to the home or high-speed cable to the home. We're requiring that. So honestly, a lot of our rural areas are going to have better connectivity than we have in downtown Columbia, just because they're getting brand new gear. I heard one of the projects that's going into Oconee and Pickens County is going to be capable of 10 gigabit symmetric speed in Oconee and Pickens, and that'll be probably the fastest places in the state of South Carolina. And I know one of our other projects, I'm not going to name ISP names, but one of our other projects on Edisto Island, the whole island is being rebuilt with 5 gigabit symmetric. That means 5 gig down, 5 gig up. I mean, that's unbelievable connectivity. As a basis for comparison, I consider myself lucky, and I have about 500 megabits per second up and down at home right now. So, and I love it. It's wonderful having fiber. But that's a great question. I hope I answered that okay. But that's why we focus on speeds, is because that's how the federal government tells the broadband office where we're allowed to invest and where we aren't. It's that speed thresholds.
And I want to throw out an idea related to this. Back several weeks ago, I spoke at South Carolina's Rural Summit. And if you think about the application of this technology, and you layer on top of that the way that the pandemic has changed how we conduct business, how we learn, how we receive medical care, is this the time with the application of this technology for somewhat of a rural renaissance? Because you no longer have to go shopping in a downtown area. If you have a solid internet connection, you click on a website and you will have the goods delivered to you, probably to your home the next day. You don't necessarily have to go to a medical center anymore, because many of the services that you might need, you can do by telehealth if you have the right type of internet connection.
Right.
If you have a kid at home that's learning, during the pandemic, we had to have that. And it was a bit disconcerting that Superintendent Spearman had to send out buses with internet connections to some of our rural areas so that kids could do their homework. But if you have the right internet connection, you don't have to depend upon that school bus being near your house. So you layered in on top of that the fact that because of the pandemic, many folks now are allowed by their employer to telecommute a certain number of days per week. So you can live anywhere in South Carolina, hold down a great job, and receive almost everything that you need without ever really having to leave the confines of your home if you decide to do so. So you don't have to move into the large city anymore to do those things. You can live in one of these beautiful places in South Carolina that most people would consider to be rural and have every amenity that's possible. That's the transformation of the technology.
Yep. And of course, Sally and Susan, just adding to that, getting legal assistance is of primary concern for your audience, and having that available in your family home. And of course, some of the topics get very sensitive, and to be able to do telelegal, just like you can do telehealth, would be a great asset. And I'm sure you guys are doing that all the time. So we want to be a partner. We want to make sure that this infrastructure gets in place so that all of the great services you guys offer can be available, just like every other thing.
Yeah, that's so great for you to say, because it really, there are so many issues for our clients. You know, one thing for our clients in the rural areas, but in particular our elderly clients in the rural areas, you know, they can't get to our offices. You know, we don't have an office in every single county. We have 9 offices around the state. But being able to connect with us and talk to us is so important for our clients when we have these, you know, issues like the pandemic or just transportation, if nothing else. So it's really wonderful to hear all about what you guys are doing, and we really do appreciate such an excellent presentation today. I'm going to switch to my screen here, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
You'll let me know when you see it. Okay. Go.
There we go.
Yeah, so this is all that contact information that I promised at the beginning, but while everyone is checking that out and scanning that QR code to get that newsletter, I do want to take the time to thank Jim Stritzinger and Mike Shealy. That was fascinating information, so important for us to know about, for our clients to know about, really just for the general public to know about. That broadband access is really so important. And I do want to remind our audience, and first of all, thank the audience for being here with us, whether you're live or on the replay. It's really important that we get this information out. And so I want everyone to be sure that they go to GetConnectedSC and take that Better Internet survey. That's crucial information for these guys and their teams to have. And we will have a link for that in the description box below for the replay, for those of you who are watching on the replay. And I really want you, if you found this to be helpful, I'm sure you did, please share it out to other people. Let other folks know about the presentation so they can get all this important information and figure out what they've got, what their service is, what may be coming to their area. It's just super important. And so we do want y'all to share this broadcast and share the connection to that survey. And also for our clients in particular, that affordable connectivity that you spoke of, Jim, that's really, really great that you've got that clickable button right there on the website. And I definitely encourage folks to check that out and see if you qualify for that. So if you can see the screen here, I want to just remind everybody, this is how you get in contact with South Carolina Legal Services. And we have social media, we have our newsletter, we have both online and telephone intake, and you can, and our services are free to those who are eligible, so we always encourage everyone to check that out, see if you have a legal problem, and see if you're eligible for our free legal services. And then while you are at it, I want you to go to our YouTube channel, like this video because it's been awesome, and share it out, as I said, to anybody that you think may be find it useful, because I'm sure everyone will. So once again, thanks to Jim and Mike and to our audience. And I want to remind folks that every Tuesday at noon, we have a Level Up Law episode, and April starts next week. And it's Fair Housing Month as well as Second Chances Month. So we have a great slate of episodes lined up. So be sure to tune in next week and throughout April for more live episodes of Level Up Law on Tuesday at noon. You can always find the registration information as it becomes available on our calendar at www.sclegal.org and on all of our social media and newsletter as well. So that concludes the presentation for today, but thanks again to our presenters and to everyone who tuned in today for Level Up Law. Take care, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and that concludes today's webinar. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.